The secret to happiness after 80. Curiosity, the key to a joyful, healthy life. When reaching the age of 80, many people think that the most memorable years of their life are behind them. The children are grown, careers have ended, and life seems to slow down day by day. But the surprising truth is, this could be the most beautiful phase if you hold on to one important factor: curiosity. Curiosity is not just for children or young people. On the contrary, curiosity is a mental tonic that helps older adults keep their minds sharp, hearts open, and lives full of color. When we are still curious, it means we still have a zest for life, a thirst for knowledge, and can still find excitement in everyday living. The wonderful thing is, you don't have to go far or do anything grand to nurture curiosity. Sometimes just asking, "Where did this come from?" or "What new thing can I try today?" is enough to spark a sense of discovery in your soul. A book on a topic you've never read, a documentary film, a conversation with a neighbor about the past, or even learning to cook a new dish, all of these can awaken long-forgotten curiosity. There was an 84-year-old man mentioned in the video who every morning chooses a random topic. It could be about honeybees, ancient Egyptian history, or pottery techniques, and spends an hour learning about it. He doesn't do it for money or to impress anyone. He does it for one simple reason. He loves the feeling of discovering something new. And it is this simple passion for learning that makes him feel truly alive each day. Researchers from the University of California also affirm that older adults who maintain curiosity tend to have better mental health, are less prone to depression and memory decline. When you continue to learn and explore, your brain gets exercise, keeping neural connections strong and active. So, if you're wondering how to find joy in life after 80, start with the smallest thing. Be curious. Let each day be an opportunity to learn something new, because when you still want to know, you still want to live. And that is the beginning of true happiness. Connection, the quiet thread that sustains happiness after 80. When thinking about connection, many people immediately think of beloved family members, lifelong friends, or a life partner who has shared decades with them. But in reality, happiness in old age doesn't come only from those deep relationships. It also comes from small, simple, yet meaningful connections in everyday life. Think back to the warm feeling when someone smiles at you on the street, or a brief conversation with the vegetable vendor at the market. Sometimes it's just a good morning to a neighbor. These seemingly small moments have tremendous power in maintaining the sense that I still belong in this world. At 80, many people feel lonely and out of place. Family members are busy, close friends grow fewer. But that doesn't mean you no longer have a place in the world. It is these everyday connections, short but sincere, that serve as bridges, helping us feel tied to our community and reminding us that we are still seen, still present, still alive. A study from the University of British Columbia found that older adults who frequently talk with casual acquaintances, like cafe staff, vendors, or fellow parkgoers, experience greater happiness than those who only talk with close family or friends. The reason is simple. These connections make us feel we are still part of society, still interacting, and still acknowledged by others. There was an elderly woman named Eleanor who shared that after her husband passed away and her children and grandchildren moved far away, she felt incredibly lonely. But then she decided that every time she left the house, whether going to the market or for a walk, she would make a point to have at least one small conversation with someone. It could be greeting the bus driver, thanking the cashier, or simply chatting with someone sitting nearby in the park. After a few months, she felt happier and more connected to life than ever before. Connection doesn't have to be deep or long-lasting. What matters is the feeling of being seen and sharing a moment with another person. Small acts like starting a conversation, giving a compliment, or simply smiling at a stranger can work wonders for both your mood and theirs. So, if you're looking for a way to enjoy life after 80, step outside and start with something very small. Connect with the world around you through your sincere presence. Purpose, a life value that illuminates old age. One of the things that easily makes people feel sad and empty in old age is the sense that they are no longer important, no longer needed. No more job, Children and grandchildren grown, health no longer abundant. All of this makes many wonder, do I still have any value? But the truth is, a person's value doesn't lie in their age or social role, but in whether they still see something they can give each day. At 80 or beyond, you don't need to do anything grand to find meaning in life. As long as you still have something to share, a piece of advice, a story, a smile, you are still enriching the lives of others. The story of Harold, an 87-year-old mechanic, is a clear example. Though he has no children, no remaining relatives, and lives very simply, he still feels that each day has meaning. He spends time sitting in front of an old repair shop where young mechanics come to ask for advice. He doesn't get paid and no longer works in the shop, but he gives away something more valuable than money: wisdom and experience. For him, being able to share, to be listened to be needed, is the reason to keep living happily. Perhaps what separates happy elderly people from lonely ones is the question they ask themselves each morning. The happy don't ask, "What do I have to do today?" but rather, "What can I give today?" And that giving mindset makes them feel fulfilled, purposeful, and happy from within. Purpose isn't something big. It might be teaching a grandchild how to cook a traditional dish, sharing lessons from past times, or simply listening to someone with all your heart. It is conscious presence, a willingness to share, even in the smallest ways. Remember, life only loses meaning when we stop believing we have something left to give. But in truth, as long as we are alive, we can still love, advise, inspire, and leave a beautiful mark on others. Old age is not the ending. It is a new chapter where you become the guide, the inspiration, the keeper of spiritual values for the next generation. And in that very role, you'll see, each day is worth living, every moment worth cherishing. Gratitude. Happiness comes from the little things. At the age of 80 and beyond, life no longer rushes as it did in youth. Major events become less frequent, loved ones may live far away, and health is no longer as it once was. But instead of focusing on what has been lost, the happiest people choose to focus on what is still present. And they call this gratitude. What is special about gratitude after 80 isn't about great things, but about the subtle way it's felt. It's not a general, hollow kind of gratitude. It's a habit practiced daily, seeing life with appreciative eyes. Imagine one morning, sitting by the window with a warm cup of tea in hand, the sunlight gently streaming through the curtains, and birds singing in the distance. For someone who practices gratitude, this is not just a passing moment. It is a miracle, life present and worth acknowledging. A 92-year-old woman named Helen once shared that every morning she writes down 3 things she is grateful for. Some days it's the smell of toasted bread, other days it's a surprise call from an old friend, and some days it's simply not having back pain. These small things, when noticed and appreciated, become a source of spiritual nourishment. Science supports this too. A study from Harvard University shows that people who regularly practice gratitude have lower levels of stress and depression, sleep better, and have better cardiovascular health. Why is this so? Because the human mind will always find what it is focusing on. If you constantly focus on loss, you will feel deprived. But if you focus on what remains, no matter how small, you will feel fulfilled. Gratitude not only helps you feel happier, but it also makes it easier to spread positive emotions to others. When you are grateful, you become gentler, more patient, and more likely to smile, qualities that are essential in social relationships in old age. Practicing gratitude doesn't take much time. Simply take a minute every evening to think of or write down 3 things you appreciate from the day. Doing this daily as a habit, you'll be surprised at how much lighter and more lovable life becomes. As Helen once said, if you look for what is lost, you will always feel lacking. But if you look at remains, life will always be complete. And that is the simple yet profound secret to happiness, not only after 80, but throughout every stage of life. Happiness doesn't happen by chance. You can create it every day. Many people believe happiness is a gift from fate. Some are lucky to have it, others are not. But the truth is quite different. Especially after the age of 80, happiness is not something that happens naturally, but rather the result of conscious choices made every day. Although aging brings many changes, even losses, you can still nurture joy from within through simple things. Curiosity, connection, purpose, and gratitude. Curiosity keeps the mind alive. When you continue to ask questions, learn something new, try small experiences, you are keeping your brain flexible and your heart eager. A new book, a question for your neighbor, or simply walking a new path. All of these are ways to spark life within you. Curiosity has no age, and that's the first step to happiness. Connection is an essential element, but the important thing is that you don't need deep or intimate relationships to feel connected. A greeting to a stranger, a small conversation with a sales clerk, a friendly nod to someone passing by, all of these help you feel like you still belong to this world. Everyday connections are the bridge between you and the community, helping to dispel feelings of loneliness. Purpose in life is the fuel for the spirit. When you know you still have something to contribute, you will feel that you still have value. Even if you no longer work or raise children, you can still share experiences, listen to others, offer advice, or simply be present as a source of positive energy. The phrase, "I don't ask what I need to do today, I ask what I can give today," is the guiding principle for a meaningful life. And finally, gratitude is the missing piece. It is the ability to see the beauty in small things. The morning light, a warm cup of tea, birds singing, or simply a day without pain. When you train your mind to focus on what remains rather than what has been lost, you not only live happier, but also healthier, both physically and mentally. All of these things do not require youth, money, or fame. They only require a heart that is still open, a soul that is still listening, and a person ready to create happiness from the life they have. Therefore, happiness is not a miracle or a coincidence. It is a habit, a choice, an action repeated every day. And the wonderful thing is, you can start at any time, even today.